Hey everybody, my name is Professor Fredericks, and this is our intro video for CIS658, which is web architectures. Now everything is going to be fully online, fully asynchronous, so your main interactions with me are going to be through these videos and through Blackboard and Discord and all of that fun stuff. So before we get too deep into anything, if you ever run into any issues or have any questions, please get a hold of me. Contact me via email, ping me in Discord, drop by office hours, whatever you need to do to get your problems resolved. Don't wait until the last minute. So with that aside, the purpose of this video is A, to welcome you to class, and B, to kind of show you all of the different things that we will be using to get you up and running with web architectures. Now, I'm going to pop over to my next screen here. This is our Blackboard page. Now, I should rephrase, this is last year's Blackboard page. I'm going to be updating some of the deadlines that you see in here. But basically, everything is going to take place either through Blackboard, through the YouTube videos, and that's kind of how we're going to be interacting and structuring the course. So what you see here is the student view when you drop into the page. So you should see upcoming deadlines. Typically, I will shoot for like 1 to 2 assignments per week, usually one practical and one reflective to try and not overwhelm you with that. I have all of the technical information that you need, so how to join the Discord server, what the office hours are. For this class, I will also run an open office hour specific to 658. So basically, I will be on Zoom for that hour, and anybody from 658 can pop in and chat and ask questions and things like that. So please feel free to take advantage of that time. We will be using Google Cloud for this class for hosting your websites. I'll get into that in a little bit. Basically, it's going to be the easiest way for me to see what you are working on, for you to have full administrative access to the server, and for it to be public facing. Again, we'll get into that. It's also a good experience with a cloud-based platform. Okay, so some other things here, and I guess I should probably zoom in a touch. We have a few textbooks that are available, plus some various readings that I'll give you throughout the way. There is this this client-side web development open access textbook. Now it's basically just a GitHub page where you go through the basics of HTML, CSS, JavaScript into React. So we'll kind of be going through this here and there. If you don't know HTML, if you don't know JavaScript, if you don't know CSS, this is a wonderful resource to get you up and running with that. And I love this new Blackboard interface, by the way, where if you don't open a new link or a link in a new tab, it just destroys your experience. Great for 658, I suppose. But yeah, we'll be using that. There's also this Learning React textbook, which is available through the GVSU library and through an O'Reilly partnership. So basically, you get a free copy of the ebook as long as you log in with your GVSU credentials. There's also this link, which is probably going to change by the time class starts, because this link is actually a dead link and it goes nowhere. So I have to find where this overview of the TCP/IP protocols exist. But basically, these are going to be our main references for the class when I ask you to do readings. All right. There is also going to be a YouTube playlist that I maintain for all of these videos. So in every single week, I will, for instance, week 1, we have this intro videos, we have assigned readings, some of the lecture slides for you to go through too. Each of these are going to be a link to a different YouTube video, but I will also maintain the whole playlist so that you can kind of go through them in order as well. With that being said, I will probably not release all the videos at once. I will kind of release them in a week-by-week fashion, or every couple weeks, depending on how much revising needs to be done to the videos, I suppose. But this is kind of the structure of what a weekly session would look like for us. So here are the readings that I'm expecting you to do. Here are the videos that I would expect you to go through. Some of them are theory, some of them are hands-on demos, and after that, you have some homework to do to make that happen. So for instance, week 1, I'd like to know a bit about you. Get your Google Cloud information set up. Do a reading reflection on, basically this is kind of the structure that we'd be following. Since this is online, since this is async, it's basically going to be, read the material. Did you understand the material? Can you do the material? That kind of fun stuff. So with that, we have our YouTube playlist, we have our textbooks, assignments you'll find in the assignments link, weekly content you'll find in the weekly content link, and the syllabus will be up there for you to peruse as well. I would highly recommend reading through that because it's going to have the grading breakdown, it's going to have kind of all the course expectations and all that fun stuff. Typically my contract with you all for what you're going to expect. Other thing too, so we will have our exams. They'll be online through Blackboard. We'll get to that when we get there. There will be a midterm and a final. You will have a term project to do in this class as well. About midterm time frame, I'll start having you think about that. The way I typically structure them is that I have you pick something interesting to you, and you propose that topic to me, and then we work on scoping and refining that idea. So the way I like to view this is there something that you've always wanted to do but have never had time to implement? Or do you want to build up your web portfolio or your, external portfolio that you show off to potential employers? Basically, use this as a reason to build that thing that you've always wanted to build. And when we get to that point, I can give you some examples of some of the projects people have worked on as well. With that being said, I don't particularly care what language you use to build this. In this class, we're going to be covering, HTML and CSS. We're going to be going through Ruby on Rails. We will do some Flask, which is Python. We'll be looking at React and, possibly more as well as the semester goes on. If you want to use a combination of those, that's fine. If you want to completely go off topic and use something like Angular or Vue, which are akin to React, that's fine as well. Just be aware that the material is going to be focused on, for instance, React. But just kind of start in the back of your mind thinking of what you'd like to work on for this class. So that's pretty much it for Blackboard. Now, again, I've got this YouTube playlist here, which this is for last semester. So again, I've got to update it a touch, but it's going to have all the different videos in order for everything that we are going to cover. And again, treat them like you would any other YouTube playlist. Watch them when you can. Jot down notes as we go through demos. For sticking points, I'll try to point out some of the difficult things that people will face. But overall, it's there for your benefit. Okay, so the last thing to really cover here is the fact that we're going to be using Google Cloud. Now, if you have never used a cloud-based environment, it's basically just somebody else's server environment. But the key thing here is that this is 100% free for you. So we're going to be getting coupons to use for this environment. So you get $50 each coupon. If you run out of credits, I can get you more. So never, ever, ever, ever put your credit card into this system. Okay, just ask me for more credits. That being said, we will also be talking about how to avoid running your credits out. One of the main things that we will be doing in here is creating virtual machines. This is going to host your web environment. You will have a micro instance, which you can always leave on. But then once we get to Ruby on Rails, you're going to need a bit of a heftier environment. And kind of the same with React as well. Those you're going to want to shut down once you are done working. And the reason why is that if you leave these things up and running, they will just drain your credits while they're going. The little micro instance falls under the free tier, so that's okay. But once you get set up and there's a lab that you run through to get all of this up and running, you will be greeted with something like this. May or may not change depending on how Google feels. They like to update this interface every so often. But you're going to create a virtual machine, for instance. And this is where you can get your Ubuntu server up and running, or Debian, or whatever your favorite Linux distribution is. Everything we do in here will be based around Ubuntu. But if I were to just create a default machine, 10 gigs of memory, Debian Linux, 4 gigs of RAM, that's going to be $25 a month about. So if you leave this thing up and running, that is how much it would cost your account. Okay, and if you bump this up even more, so let's say that we want to be crazy and use a GPU, basic NVIDIA T4, one of them, that's $200 a month. So we have to be very, very careful with how we use some of these things because you only have 50 to work through, right? And you don't want to be asking me over and over and over again for more credits. So that being said, we're going to see something kind of like this eventually. Now I've got a couple of different virtual machines in here that I've been using for demos. The 658 instance has a LAMP stack already installed, which is Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP, as well as Ruby on Rails for some demonstration purposes. One thing to talk about here, if you have never used Linux before, don't worry too much. I will help you with the commands and let you know what you need to be doing to move around the file system and move files and all that fun stuff. If you have used it before, you treat it like any other Linux environment. Okay, so this thing is up and running now. Instance started, that goes to green. We now have an external IP address. Okay, so again, I already did some things behind the scenes here to make this work, but if I go to that URL, here's my homepage. Okay, so then if I were a student working on assignments, I would say, for instance, log into the system through SSH. I get a terminal connection to that system, after it logs me in here. And I would then be able to play with it like any other server environment. Again, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, it will all become clear as we go throughout the class. But basically, I have a nice little Linux environment where I can say, so var www html, there's my web page. I could, let's go ahead and edit it just for fun. I'm kind of going off script now. Index.html, let's say, where's my body tags? Here we go. H1, hi there, CIS658 student. Save that and refresh here. And this should pop up somewhere. There it is, very top. Okay. Again, key things here and why we're doing it this way. This is a public-facing website. If I had this up and running when you were viewing this video, you could go to this IP address as well, and you'd see this exact same thing. Other bits, you can grant me access to your projects that you have so that I can log in remotely and help you debug things too. So if you start running into weird issues, I can open up your virtual machine and see what's going on. But the key thing here, that is something we'll get to later. I have this machine up and running. It is a big beefy machine because I want to do some good demos with it. I'm going to shut it down. So I'm going to click the little three dots here, and I'm going to click stop. You're going to hear me say this over and over and over again, so strap in and get ready to hear the repeatingness. You get this with any kind of a cloud class, by the way. I'm going to stop my instance. Okay. And now if I were to go to that URL again, it would not work because the server is shut down. Okay. So video is getting a little bit long for an intro video, but the key takeaway here is if you run into any issues, if there's anything you want to talk about, if you just want to chat, or if you want help, or if something doesn't make sense, please stop by office hours. They'll be either Zoom or in person. There's the Discord channel, which I've got instructions for how to join in the syllabus and in Blackboard. But overall, just please get in contact if you need any advice. Anyway, that's about it for this video. We'll then be getting into kind of the basics of the web, the basics of the protocols, getting you set up with your cloud environment, and should be fun on the bun. So I'll see you all next time. Hope you have a great day. Bye.